In the silent corridors of the soul where the chosen one first hears the whisper of the infinite, there exists a profound sense of isolation that serves as the womb of greatness and the crucible of the spirit. This sacred solitude is not a punishment, nor is it a sign of abandonment by the heavens, but rather, it is a deliberate and divine separation from the mundane echoes of a sleeping world that clings to the shadows of the temporary. You who have been marked by the finger of the eternal must understand that the loneliness you feel is the clearing of the sanctuary and the hushing of the noise, so that the true frequency of your purpose can finally be heard without the distortion of the uninitiated. This isolation is the first gate through which every anointed vessel must pass, for it is in the absolute stillness of the self that the architecture of the cosmos reveals its intricate blueprints to the mind that has been prepared to receive them. You find yourself standing upon the precipice of a vast and luminous internal landscape, looking down upon the flickering lights of the valleys where humanity slumbers in its contented ignorance, and you realize with a piercing clarity that your heartbeat no longer syncopates with the rhythm of the earth, but with the pulse of the stars themselves. This sacred detachment is the primordial requirement for the birth of a sovereign consciousness, for one cannot lead the sheep if one is still entangled in the wool of the flock. It is here in this cavern of the heart that you find yourself speaking the first of the ancient utterances, acknowledging with a voice that resonates through the layers of your ancestry that you do not belong to the dust of the earth, nor to the cycles of decay and rebirth that govern the physical realm. Instead, you declare your lineage to the constellations of the divine mind and recognize that your essence was forged in the white heat of the first thought that ever flickered across the void. To the world, you may appear distant or estranged, yet in truth, you're drawing closer to the only reality that remains when the mountains crumble and the oceans evaporate. This realization is both a liberation and a burden, for to know that you are a citizen of the infinite is to accept the responsibility of being a stranger in a land that speaks a dying language and worships at the altar of the fleeting. As the heart begins to fracture under the immense weight of this cosmic awareness, you may feel a sorrow that is not of this world, a mourning for the simplicity of the illusion that you can no longer inhabit. Yet this breaking of the heart is the most sacred of processes, for the heart must be broken open to hold the light of the suns, and it must be shattered so that the ego can no longer find a place to hide. The cracks that form in your earthly identity are not flaws, but are the very apertures through which the radiance of the divine begins to pour into the vessel of your being. As the psalmist of the ancient spheres begins to sing within you, the promise of the sanctified manifests not as a comfort, but as a transformation, weaving the threads of celestial purpose through the fissures of your life until you are no longer a person of flesh and bone, but a living tapestry of light and shadow. You are being prepared for the weight of glory, which is a burden so heavy that it would crush any soul that had not first been strengthened by the solitude of the desert and the silence of the heights. Consider the nature of the seed which must die in the dark earth alone and forgotten by the wind before it can stretch its limbs towards the sun and become a sanctuary for the birds of the air. You are currently in that fertile darkness where the old self is dissolving into the soil of the soul to make way for the majesty of the ordained spirit. The isolation you experience is the soil, and the silence is the water, and the longing you feel is the pool of the light that draws you upward through the weight of the world. Do not fear the quietude, for it is the voice of the Father whispering the secrets of the beginning and the end. Do not fear the distance between yourself and your kin, for the bridge you are building is not made of wood and stone, but of prayer and sacrifice, and it will eventually carry many across the abyss into the kingdom of the awakened. Your solitude is the signature of your election and the seal of your sanctification, and in the days to come, you will look back upon this season of hiddenness as the most precious time of your preparation when you are held in the secret place of the Most High. The mundane world will try to lure you back into its trivialities with the promise of belonging, and the comfort of the collective dream, but you must remain steadfast in your separation. The echoes of the divine vessel require a clarity that can only be found when the interference of the masses is silenced. You are being tuned like a celestial instrument to a pitch that the human ear cannot perceive, but the human soul desperately craves. Every moment of loneliness is a stroke of the Master's hand upon the strings of your heart, ensuring that when you finally speak, the world will hear not your voice, but the thunder of the heavens and the music of the spheres. This is the lexicon of the sanctified, where every word is a flame and every silence is a revelation. You are the scribe of your own destiny and the prophet of your own soul, and the ink you use is the essence of your own experiences, refined in the fires of your sacred isolation. Observe how the stars do not crowd one another, but shine from their own appointed distances across the velvet dark. Each one is a solitary furnace of light, yet together they form the map of the universe and the guide for the traveler. So too are the chosen ones scattered across the earth like jewels in the night, separated by vast distances of understanding and spirit, yet united in the single purpose of reflecting the glory of the source. Your solitude is your orbit, and your isolation is your gravity, ensuring that you do not collide with the lower vibrations of the earth, but maintain your position in the celestial hierarchy. There is a profound geometry in your loneliness, a sacred math that calculates the exact amount of space needed for your spirit to expand into its full capacity. As you walk the lonely path, remember that you are walking the same road trodden by the masters and the martyrs, the seers and the saints who knew that the only way to reach the heart of the all was to leave the periphery of the many. The weight of glory is not a metaphor, but a physical and spiritual reality that requires a spine of diamond and a heart of gold. To carry the presence of the infinite within the limitations of the finite is the ultimate labor of the anointed. This solitude is the gym of the spirit, where your inner strength is tested and built through the resistance of the world's indifference and the gravity of your own doubt. Each time you choose the silence over the noise and the truth over the lie, you are increasing your capacity to hold the weight that is coming. The cracks in your identity are being filled with the liquid light of wisdom, which hardens into a substance stronger than any earthly metal. You are becoming a vessel that cannot be broken by the trials of the physical realm, for you have already been broken and remade in the image of the eternal. The threads of celestial purpose are being woven into the very fabric of your nervous system, so that your every movement becomes a liturgy and your every breath becomes a prayer. In this state of sanctified solitude, you begin to see the world as it truly is, a shimmering veil of light and shadow cast by the mind of the Creator. The things that once seemed important now appear as children's toys, and the things that once seemed invisible now stand before you in their terrible and beautiful reality. You are learning the language of the birds and the wind, the dialect of the stars and the deep earth. This is the lexicon that you were born to translate for a world that has forgotten its origins and lost its way in the labyrinth of the material. Your life is the dictionary of the divine, and your experiences are the grammar of the heavens. Do not be discouraged by the silence of the people around you, for their silence is the silence of the deaf, while your silence is the silence of the listener who hears the music of the spheres. You are being kept in the shadow of the Almighty's hand until the moment of your unveiling, and when that moment comes, the world will know that the solitude of the anointed was the preparation for the illumination of the ages. Wait with patience and with power in the womb of your greatness, for the birth of the chosen one is a slow and magnificent process. Let the mundane world fade until it is but a whisper on the edge of your consciousness, and let the whispers of the infinite become the roar of 1,000 waterfalls within your spirit. You are the bridge between the earth and the sky, the vessel through which the divine becomes manifest, and the sacred solitude is the only place where that alchemy can occur. Stand firm in your isolation, for it is the highest form of communion, and look towards the horizon of your own soul, where the sun of your destiny is beginning to rise. The lexicon is being written upon your heart, and the 8 echoes are beginning to resound through the chambers of your being. This is the first echo, the call to the desert, the summons to the silence, and the beginning of the journey that leads to the throne of the eternal mind. You are the sanctified, and this is your lexicon, and your journey has only just begun. The journey of the sanctified does not merely ascend towards the luminous peaks of celestial illumination, but must first plunge into the subterranean depths where the furnace of the divine architect awaits to test the metal of the spirit and the purity of the heart. As you transition from the silence of the desert into the roaring heat of the crucible, you find that the path descends into a valley draped in the long shadows of the unmaking, where the air is thick with the soot of incinerated vanity, and the weight of the silence presses against the spirit like the crushing depths of an abyssal sea. This is the realm of the refiner, where the fire is not an enemy to be feared, but a holy and necessary force of transmutation, designed to consume the dross of the ego and the lingering illusions of the temporal self. You move through this corridor of shadow, not as one who is lost, but as one who is being found by the very flames that seek to strip away everything that is not eternal within you. The fire is a relentless seeker of truth, probing the secret chambers of the soul and demanding a reckoning with the shadows that have long sought refuge in the corners of your being. In this sacred heat, the metal of the spirit is softened, and the rigid structures of the old identity begin to melt and flow into the shape of a vessel that is capable of holding the infinite weight of the divine presence. In the midst of this intense purification, the chosen one discovers that the old languages of the world are insufficient to describe the magnitude of the transformation taking place, and so the soul begins to learn the dialect of endurance and the lexicon of surrender. This is not the surrender of the defeated, but the surrender of the beloved, who recognizes that the hand of the potter is molding the clay with a precision that defies human understanding. It is a language spoken in the quietude of the heart, when the howling winds of adversity threaten to extinguish the inner light, and it consists of words that are forged in the heat of the struggle. These are words of profound trust, uttered when the eyes can see no path forward, and the mind can find no logical reason for the suffering being endured. To speak the lexicon of surrender is to declare that the architect knows the design of the temple better than the stones of which it is built, and to accept that the breaking of the form is the only way to release the glory that is trapped within. Every moment of endurance is a sentence written in the book of life, and every breath of surrender is a punctuation mark that brings clarity to the chaotic narrative of the human experience. As you navigate the valley of shadows, you must realize that every trial you encounter is a deliberate brushstroke of the architect who is painting a masterpiece of restoration upon the canvas of your soul. The events that appear to the world as tragedies or setbacks are in reality the calculated movements of a divine hand, shaping the contours of your character and preparing you for the weight of the glory that is to come. There is no wasted movement in the economy of the Most High, and there is no pain that does not carry within it the seed of a greater revelation. The wounds you carry are not marks of shame or signs of failure, but are instead the sacred apertures through which the light of the Most High enters the darkness of the mortal frame. Just as the stars are only visible when the sun has set, so too is the inner radiance of the spirit only fully revealed when the outer structures of the self have been pierced by the arrows of experience. These wounds are the windows of the soul through which the nectar of heaven pours into the world, and they are the portals through which the seeker enters into a deeper communion with the suffering of the entire creation. By declaring these sanctified words in the depths of the abyss, the seeker transforms their pain into a portal and their suffering into a bridge that connects the finite with the infinite. You begin to understand that the darkness is not a prison, but a womb, where the new self is being formed in the secret place of the Most High. The alchemy of the abyss is the process of turning the leaden weight of human sorrow into the golden aura of spiritual authority, and it requires a willingness to remain in the heat until the work is complete. You do not rush through the fire, but you allow the fire to rush through you, clearing away the cobwebs of doubt and the ash of past regrets, until all that remains is the shimmering essence of the true self. This is the realization that the healing of the brokenhearted is not a mere act of mercy or a gentle comfort, but is instead a foundational prerequisite for the wielding of sovereign power and spiritual authority. One cannot lead those who are broken until one has been broken and reconstructed by the hand of the divine, for it is only through the experience of restoration that one gains the wisdom to restore others. The authority of the Chosen One is not born of worldly strength or intellectual prowess, but is the direct result of having survived the refiner fire and emerged with a heart that is both tender and indestructible. To hold the scepter of spiritual dominion, one must first have their own will laid upon the altar of sacrifice and their own desires consumed by the holy flame. It is in the depths of the valley where the ego dies that the sovereign spirit is born, and it is in the silence of the surrender that the voice of the divine is most clearly heard. You are being taught to speak the language of the heavens while your feet are still planted in the dust of the earth, and you are being shown that the true measure of your power is found in the depth of your dependence upon the source of all life. Every scar on your spirit is a testament to a victory won in the unseen realms, and every memory of pain is a reminder of the strength that was forged in the moments when you felt most weak. The lexicon of the sanctified is written in the blood of the overcomer and the ink of the redeemed, and it resonates with a frequency that can shatter the gates of darkness and open the windows of heaven. As the fire continues its work, you will find that the very things you once feared become the instruments of your liberation. The isolation of the valley becomes the solitude of the sanctuary, and the heat of the trial becomes the warmth of the divine embrace. You are learning that the Most High is closest to those whose hearts are crushed, for it is in the fragments of the broken heart that the light finds the most surfaces to reflect upon. The process of refinement is an act of love so profound that it refuses to leave you as you were, and it is a commitment to your ultimate perfection that transcends your immediate comfort. You are being prepared to stand in the courts of the eternal and to walk among the stars, and this preparation requires a purging of every earthly attachment and every shadow of self-importance. The light that enters through your wounds is not just for your own illumination, but is a beacon for those who are still wandering in the dark. And your journey through the valley is a blueprint for the many who will follow in your footsteps. Take heart then, as the flames rise higher and the shadows grow longer, for you are not alone in the furnace, and the fourth man who walks beside you is the very architect of your soul. The words of trust you whisper in the dark are louder than the thunder of the heavens, and the surrender you offer in the midst of the struggle is more precious than the gold of the mountains. You are becoming a vessel of honor, fit for the Master's use, and the lexicon you are learning will become the foundation of the new world you are destined to help build. The fire is your friend, and the shadow is your teacher, and the pain is the midwife of your true destiny. Stand firm in the knowledge that the refiner never takes his eye off the metal, and he knows exactly when the reflection of his own face is visible in the molten surface of your spirit. When that moment arrives, the fire will cease, and you will emerge not just as a survivor, but as a sanctified vessel of the divine will, carrying the authority of the throne and the compassion of the heavens into the realms of men. The lexicon of the sanctified is expanding within you, and the 8 echoes are growing into a symphony of spiritual resonance that vibrates through every fiber of your being. You have passed through the first echo and are now being anchored in the second, where the strength of your spirit is being tested and the depth of your devotion is being proven. Do not look back at the world you have left behind, but look forward into the heart of the flame, where your true name is being etched in the light of the eternal. The journey is long and the path is narrow, but the destination is the very center of the divine mind, where all questions are answered and all sorrows are wiped away. You are the chosen one, and the fire is your crown, and the surrender is your throne. Let the work of the refiner be completed in you, and let the language of the abyss become the song of your triumph, for the healing of your heart is the key that unlocks the treasury of the heavens, and the authority you gain in the dark will be the light that leads the world into the dawn of the new age. In this sacred space of becoming, you must realize that every tear you shed is collected in the vials of the sanctuary, and every groan of the spirit is translated into a prayer of intercession by the very breath of life that moves within you. The valley is not a place of permanent residence, but a bridge to the high places, and the lessons you learn here will be the pillars of your future reign. Trust the process of the unmaking, for it is the only way to the making of the immortal, and embrace the silence of the surrender, for it is the only way to hear the whisper of the eternal. Your destiny is not a destination but a transformation, and you are currently in the most critical phase of that metamorphosis where the old shell is discarded and the new wings are formed. The refiner fire is the heat of the divine love, and the lexicon of surrender is the song of the divine union. Walk on with courage, for the light is growing within you, and the shadow is retreating, and the time of your emergence is drawing near. The symphony of the 8 echoes is reaching its next movement, and you are the instrument through which the music of the spheres is being played. You are the sanctified, and your journey into the heart of the divine has only just begun. The summit of the mountain of transfiguration is not a place of stone and wind, but a state of absolute luminous being, where the gravity of the mundane no longer holds sway over the spirit of the chosen. You stand now upon this celestial height, having emerged from the white heat of the refiner fire, with a soul that has been stripped of every shadow and every weight that once bound it to the lower realms of existence. The crucible was not a punishment, but a preparation for this very moment of sovereign awakening, where the path of isolation finally reveals its hidden geometry as a bridge to total illumination. You look out across the horizon of eternity, not with the eyes of a mortal bound by the constraints of linear time, but with the sight of the eternal observer who recognizes that every step of the journey was inscribed in the scrolls of the cosmos before the first star was breathed into life. The air you breathe is the pneuma of the highest heavens, and the light that surrounds you is not reflected from an external sun, but radiates from the core of your own purified essence as the sanctuary of the divine presence. The authority you now carry is a garment woven from the threads of trials endured and victories won in the silent chambers of the heart, where the ego was offered as a burnt sacrifice. To look into the eyes of the eternal is to see the reflection of your own true face, and in that gaze, the illusions of separation and the phantoms of fear are dissolved into the ocean of primordial truth. Your voice, which once whispered in the darkness of the valley, now carries the resonance of the thunder that shaped the firmament, and your words are no longer mere sounds intended for the ears of men, but are the very vibrations of creation itself. When you speak, you do not merely describe reality, but you command the elements of destiny to align themselves with the blueprint of the spiritual that has been revealed to you in the stillness of the heights. The sovereignty of the awakened soul is the realization that the mind of the Creator and the heart of the vessel have become one single point of light through which the infinite flows into the finite to restore the ancient harmony of the worlds. This is the lexicon of the sanctified, where every breath is an echo of the divine name and every thought is a stroke upon the canvas of existence. You recognize with a profound and unshakable clarity that your period of wandering and your years of deep solitude were the necessary conditions for the tempering of your spirit, so that you could become a conduit capable of sustaining the direct current of the Absolute. The isolation you once lamented was, in truth, a holy seclusion, a sanctuary, where the divine could speak to you without the interference of the world, and where the blueprint of your specific destiny could be etched into the very marrow of your bones. Now, as the vessel is fully formed and the light is fully ignited, you step forth not as a servant of fate, but as a master of providence, knowing that the reality of the physical must always bow to the authority of the awakened spirit. You are the bridge between the unmanifest and the manifest, the point where the silence of the Godhead becomes the music of the spheres. As an awakened vessel, your presence in the world is a catalyst for the restoration of the fractured dimensions, and your very existence serves as a lighthouse for those who are still navigating the turbulent waters of the lower self. The echoes of your voice carry the frequency of the eighth heaven, and they ripple outward to touch the hearts of the sleeping and the weary, calling them to remember their own forgotten divinity. You understand now the ultimate paradox that has been the hidden key to your entire journey, that you are simultaneously the healed and the healer, the seeker and the sought, and the path and the destination. The wounds you carried were the portals through which the light entered your being, and the questions you asked were the echoes of the answers that were already dwelling within the secret depths of your soul. By finding your own wholeness, you have become a source of wholeness for the world around you, and by awakening to your own sovereignty, you have broken the chains of ancestral bondage for the generations that will follow in your footsteps. The world you see before you is no longer a collection of separate objects and competing forces, but a unified field of divine expression where every leaf and every star is a word in the great poem of the eternal. Your sovereignty is not a dominion of power over others, but a dominion of peace within yourself, a state of being so centered in the truth that the storms of the world cannot move you, and the shadows of the night cannot dim your radiance. You stand as a sentinel of the new dawn, a guardian of the sacred mysteries who has walked through the fire and found it to be the warmth of divine love. The transfiguration is complete, and the chosen one is now the anointed one, whose life is a testament to the power of the light to overcome the darkness and the power of the spirit to transcend the flesh. Every action you take is now an act of worship, and every silence you keep is a prayer of thanksgiving for the grace that has brought you from the depths of the abyss to the height of the holy mountain. Behold, the blueprint of the spiritual is now fully manifest in the temple of your body, and the physical reality you inhabit is being reshaped to mirror the perfection of the higher realms. The elements of destiny are like clay in the hands of the potter, and you are the artisan who crafts the future from the materials of the present moment, with the wisdom of the ages as your guide. The journey from isolation to illumination has reached its glorious climax, and the seeker has finally come home to the heart of the Father, only to find that he never truly left. You are the conduit for the restoration of all things, the voice that calls the dry bones to live again, and the hand that wipes away the tears of the forgotten. The lexicon of the sanctified is written in your blood, and the 8 echoes of the divine vessel are the songs that your soul will sing throughout the cycles of eternity. Now, the sovereignty of the awakened soul becomes the foundation for a new heaven and a new earth as you walk the path of the world while dwelling in the court of the King. You carry the authority of the celestial hierarchies and the humility of the desert saints, knowing that your power is only the power of the one who sent you, and your light is only the light of the source that sustains you. The transfiguration is not an ending, but a beginning of a mission that spans the dimensions and a service that embraces all of creation in the arms of divine compassion. You are the sanctified, the chosen, the awakened, and your journey into the infinite has only just reached its first true milestone of glory. The mountain of transfiguration remains within you as a permanent altar, and from that high place you shall govern your life and your world with the justice of the Spirit and the mercy of the soul, until all shadows are swallowed up in the victory of the light, and all voices are joined in the one eternal hallelujah. As you descend from the height of the mountain to walk among the valleys of men, you do not leave the transfiguration behind, for the light is now woven into your very atoms, and the authority is a permanent seal upon your brow. You move through the world as a ghost of the future, a precursor of the evolution that awaits all of humanity, and your presence alone is enough to stir the embers of divinity in those you encounter. The language you speak is the language of the heart, which transcends the barriers of speech and the barriers of culture, reaching directly into the core of the human spirit to ignite the flame of hope. You are the restorer of the paths, the builder of the breaches, and the one who prepares the way for the coming of the greater light. The sovereignty you possess is the sovereignty of the sun, which does not demand that the flowers grow, but simply shines upon them until they have no choice but to open their petals to the sky. The echoes of your transformation are felt in the furthest reaches of the cosmos, for when one soul awakens, the entire universe is lifted a fraction closer to the source of all being. You are the proof that the alchemy of the spirit is real, and that the lead of human suffering can indeed be turned into the gold of divine wisdom. The journey was long, and the price was high, but the treasure you have found is beyond the value of all the worlds and all the stars. You are the healed healer, the one who has known the depth of the darkness and can therefore guide others into the fullness of the day. The lexicon of the sanctified is your inheritance, and the sovereignty of the awakened soul is your crown. Go forth now as a pillar of fire in the night and a cloud of glory in the day, for the mouth of the Eternal has spoken it, and the hand of the destiny has signed it in the book of life. The alignment of the physical with the spiritual is now an accomplished fact in your existence, and the dissonance that once plagued your mind has been replaced by the sublime harmony of the divine will. You no longer struggle against the flow of life, but you are the flow itself, moving with the effortless grace of a river towards the infinite sea. Every challenge that once seemed like an obstacle is now seen as a stepping stone, and every enemy is recognized as a teacher in disguise. Your sovereignty is the ultimate freedom, the freedom from the self, and the freedom to be the self that God intended before the foundations of the world were laid. You are the chosen one not because you were better than others, but because you were willing to endure the fire and stay in the crucible until the work was finished. Now the work is done, and the new work begins as you become the architect of a reality that reflects the beauty of the celestial kingdom in the gardens of the earth. Let the echoes of the divine vessel ring out across the valleys and the plains, and let the sovereign soul stand tall in the knowledge of its own eternal nature. The mountain of transfiguration is your home, and the eye of the Eternal is your light. You are the conduit, the restorer, the healer, and the king of your own internal realm. The journey of the chosen has come to its fruition, and the lexicon of the sanctified is the song that will guide you through the ages to come. Walk on in the majesty of your awakening, for you are the sanctified, and the light that you carry is the light that will never fail, and the love that you are is the love that will never end. The silence of the beginning has become the word of the middle, and will be the peace of the end, and you are the one who contains it all in the sacred tabernacle of your awakened being. The sovereignty you hold is not a heavy scepter, but a light that guides and a warmth that heals for you. Have learned that true power is found in the total surrender to the divine purpose. By yielding your will to the higher will, you have gained the authority to speak to the storms and command them to be still. You have walked through the valley of the shadow of death and feared no evil, for you realized that the shadow was only the result of the intense light that was shining upon you from behind. Now you stand in the direct rays of that sun, and there are no shadows left to cast. Your path is a path of radiance, and your footsteps are marks of gold upon the earth. The restoration of the world begins with your own wholeness, and the healing of the nations starts with the peace in your own heart. You are the chosen one, the awakened vessel, the sovereign soul, whose destiny is to shine forever in the firmament of the eternal. This is the final echo of the divine lexicon, the realization that there is no distance between you and the source, and no separation between the healer and the healed. You are the living proof of the divine plan, the manifest evidence of the unseen glory. The mountain of transfiguration is not behind you, but within you, and you carry its peak wherever you go. The authority you speak with is the authority of one who has died to the small self and been reborn in the great self. Your words are the seeds of a new creation, and your life is the harvest of the ancient promises. You are the sanctified, and your journey has finally brought you to the place where you always were, in the heart of the one, the only, the eternal, and the absolute. May your voice continue to echo through the halls of time as a reminder to all who seek that the path is real, the goal is certain, and the sovereign soul is the ultimate destination of every chosen one who dares to look into the eyes of the infinite and live.